For this session, we're going to learn about how to create rollover buttons using Photoshop and Dreamweaver um, to slice out some buttons, to design them in Photoshop, and then use Dreamweaver to put them all together. This method actually is going to incorporate JavaScript as well. So we won't have to write any of it. We don't even have to see it, but at the end of it, at least we can appreciate how much code Dreamweaver is writing for us. Now, the first step in this process is to go design what our rollovers will look like in our favorite graphics program. I've got Photoshop open here, and the idea that I've got is when the user rolls over these images, I want to have this black tab drop down a little bit, and the text drop down along with it, and maybe change color. Now, you can do this all on one layer, you can do it on separate layers, but generally you're going to have to save 2 copies of each and every graphic. Now, I've already got this layout saved. We've already imported that into our code. We did that a few sessions ago, but I don't have rollovers. So I'm going into this with the assumption that I've already got a layout, but I just want to go add some rollovers to it. So I've already saved my first copy. I've already saved my first copy of all of these slices. I'm going to go ahead and change what I'd like to see happen on the rollover, the hover state. So I'm going to grab those layers, grab my move tool, and I'm actually going to just drop these down a little bit. I've also got a new text layer that I've dropped down as well and changed its color a little bit so you can kind of see it before and after there. I like to do these on separate layers just so I can see them better. Your rollover effect can really be anything you want as long as it fits within your slice. You see that on my slices here, I was able to drop these tabs down because my slice went all the way down to here. So that works out okay. Now I just need to go to File, Save for Web, and I really only need these 4 slices. I don't need everything like I normally do. I just need these 4. So I'll select those 4 and hit Save. Down on the bottom of the screen where it says Slices, I'll choose Selected Slices, and I'll make sure that I'm going into my root folder. I don't need to go into the Images folder. It'll automatically put these there, but the most important part here is that you are naming your file something different. You don't want to call it the same thing as what you already called your layout before. I think I just named mine Layout, but this time I'm going to call it Rollover. That way there is a distinction in the file names, and I'm not overriding any of my old ones. So I can hit Save, and I should be able to go verify under my folder. I can see my Images folder, and now there's 4 rollovers in there. Rollover 4, 5, 6, and 7, which correlates with the slice numbers here. If you forgot to check the selected slices box there in Photoshop, it's okay. It'll save all slices, but you really only need those buttons anyway, so it really doesn't hurt anything. At that point, I'm ready for Dreamweaver. Now, in Dreamweaver, I've already established my root folder. I've gone through that process. I've already got all of my images plugged in here from a previous session, a few sessions ago. So my layout's pretty well done, but I essentially want to get rid of these images and their associated links. Now you can click on the image and hit delete, and you can just delete these images out of there. And I do want to advise you to go to your code view or split view and make sure that it also takes out your anchor tags when you do that. Sometimes it doesn't. It kind of depends on your version of Dreamweaver and what exactly you've got highlighted, but you want to make sure that inside of that nav div you don't see a bunch of anchor tags in there. If you do, just wipe them out. So I've essentially got all of my graphics pulled out of there, and I'm ready to drop my rollovers in. Now, if you're doing this from scratch and you don't have a layout to start with, you can obviously just not even have to worry about deleting any graphics. If you're doing this from the beginning, you don't have to delete anything. I'm going to start by going over here to my Insert panel, and it's a very quick process here in Dreamweaver. I'll go to where it says Insert Images. I'll hit that little drop-down menu just to the left of the word Images, and go down to Rollover Image. It pulls up a big dialog box, It gives it an image name. Just leave that alone. This is actually going to be referred to in your JavaScript code, so you don't want to mess with this. Just leave it alone. There's two browse buttons. There's one next to original image and one next to rollover image. We'll go ahead and browse to find the original button, which is going to be slice number 5, I believe. Or I'm sorry, 4. And I'll browse to find my rollover 4. So the slice numbers should correlate. Layout 4 and rollover 4. Layout 4 is my original home button. Rollover 4 is my rollover image. Go ahead and leave the checkmarked or checkbox that says preload rollover image. That just makes it load a little quicker and the effect happen faster. I can't imagine why you wouldn't want that to be there. Alternate text, this is what happens when someone's not able to see the image. Maybe they have some sort of visual disability and they've got software that'll help them read what's on the site. Maybe they've got some server problem that won't allow the images to pop up at the time. This is just text that shows up in the place of that image. This is also good for SEO, search engine optimization. So if the image has words on it, like this image says home, that's what you should put in the alternate text. I'm writing home. When clicked, go to URL. That's the same as link. So if you want to link this to your index.html, I'll go ahead and type that in there and hit OK. Now while this is still selected, you see it's kind of got a darkened look on it. It's highlighted. Come down to your properties menu on the bottom and you should see class and you're going to choose FL for float left. I don't really see any change happen, but I'll need that in order for the rest of these to line up appropriately. So I'll drop in these next 3 here. It's a very quick process. I'll insert images, rollover image. I'll browse to find layout 5. I'll browse on the second one to find rollover 5. That image says about, so my alternate text is about, and it's going to go to about.html. And I can hit OK. While it's still selected, I'll come down to class and choose float left. 2 more to go here. Insert rollover image. For original image, I should be on number 6, layout 6. I'll browse to find rollover 6. This is my services button. So alternate text will say services. And when clicked, go to services.html is what I'm typing there. And OK. And while it's still selected, I'll go down and choose float left, FL. I'll click just to the right of that, and here's the last one. This will be slice number 7. I'll browse on the rollovers to find the file called rollover7. This was my contact page, so I'll type in contact here on my alternate text. And it's going to go to contact.html. And that's the last one there. It's still highlighted. I'll choose FR for float right. I'll go up and do a file, save all, hit my browser and refresh it. And I've got good news and bad news. The good news is my rollover button buttons appear to be working. The drop-down effect happens. When I click them, they should go to the respective pages. I haven't made them yet, so they're not going to go anywhere. But those rollover hover effects work. However, it's caused another problem. Now I can see I've got this gap underneath my rollovers, or the nav div. There's a little gap in there, and I can see my background color of my my container coming through. Now, if you don't have a background color to your container, or if you have a background image, maybe it looks okay. So you may not have this problem to solve, but this is pretty common, especially if you're using the HTML5 doc type, which I've taught you to use and we've been using all semester. If you go to your HTML, the code view, we're using doc type HTML up on line 1. That's the new current HTML5 version of that. which is good, but this is a common problem with spacing. There's a very easy solution for this. We have to go into the CSS rule for this nav div up here and set the line height to 0. It's a very strange fix, but it's something that's common across almost all browsers. So I'm going to go back to my CSS file. I've already got a rule called nav, or a rule called nav that goes with this div right here, all the way across. I'll double click that nav. We're going to stay right here on the type category, and there's a line height option right there. We're just going to type 0 in there, line height of 0. I can hit OK, save all, and when I go back to my browser, going to refresh it, hoping to see that blue line disappear, and there it goes, fixes it up. So now I've got my layout complete, I've got my rollover buttons in with the interactivity that I need, and that simple little line height of 0 fixes the issue. Now if you have text inside of that same div, then it'll change the line height of that also, so that may not be an option. So you might have to, put a div inside of a div and put the line height on that. Line heights on rollover buttons for some reason just cause issues, so don't fret about that. It's very common. One last thing, if you go to your HTML code, take a glance at code view. On my example, my JavaScript starts on line 6 and it ends way down on line number 28. That's not something I have to modify or even understand. It's just nice to know that it's there and that Dreamweaver wrote about 22 lines of code for me to do that. Seems a little bloated, but for what it's worth, it makes those rollovers work and preload correctly. So there you have it. There's the method, the process of getting your Photoshop slices brought into Dreamweaver and out to your browser.